Maisie lived in Sydney, Australia, a place of sunshine and warmth. So one day, Maisie was very surprised to wake up and discover a deep covering of snow all around her house. Snow in Sydney was very rare indeed, and at this time of the year, it was completely unheard of. Maisie ran into her brother's room and, snatching his hand, dragged him to the window. "Look, Ethan! Snow! It snowed!" How exciting! Within moments, the pair of them were outside, delighting in the crisp, crunching sound the snow made when they stepped on it. Ethan made a snowball, but as he went to throw it at Maisie, it fell apart and tumbled down the sleeve of his coat, causing him to squeal with laughter. Maisie made a more compact snowball, pressing it firmly into shape. But instead of throwing it, she began to roll it along the ground. As it rolled, more snow stuck to it, and the ball grew in size, becoming larger and larger as it went. Maisie needed Ethan's help to push it along until the giant ball of snow was as high as Maisie's chest. "What are we doing?" puffed Ethan. Maisie took a moment to catch her breath. Pushing a large ball of snow was getting tricky. "We're making a snowman, Ethan. This is going to be the body. Come on, just a few more pushes." The two of them had their heads down and their arms outstretched. They were no longer watching where they were going. With a thump, the giant snowball came to a sudden halt. Maisie and Ethan looked up to see what they'd collided with and were amazed to see a tall lady dressed mostly in white, with pale blue and shimmers of silver. Her blonde hair was so fair that it was almost white itself, and upon it she wore a delicate crown of ice. "Hello, children," she said. Hi," said Maisie. "What are you doing in our backyard?" The tall lady looked around her, taking in the snow-covered space. "I'm looking for my cat," she said. "Are you a queen?" asked Ethan, staring at the ice crown. The lady looked down at him and, despite the chill, gave him the warmest of smiles. "Why, yes, I am. I'm the Snow Queen." "Wow," said Maisie. "So, did you make it snow?" The Snow Queen crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow. "No, I most certainly did not," she said. "It's not supposed to snow here. It's going to cause all sorts of confusion when people go to the beach today. I wouldn't do that." "Then who did it?" Maisie asked. "My cat," said the Snow Queen. "She's quite a nuisance. That's why I need to find her, to put this right and take her home with me. But that means finding her first." "We'll help you," shouted Maisie. "Oh, please let us help." "Oh, that's very kind of you," replied the Snow Queen. "I'm quite worried about her." "Don't worry," said Maisie confidently. "We'll find her. I just know it." They immediately set off to hunt around the backyard. They peered under bushes, behind the barbecue, and over the fence, but nowhere could they spy a cat. Suddenly, Ethan began shouting excitedly from down the side of the house. "Maisie! Maisie! 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 I found her!" The Snow Queen and Maisie came immediately, and the Queen, stepping with long, elegant strides, and there, in the neighbor's window, was a cat. "See?" said Ethan happily. "I found her." "A good effort," said the Snow Queen. "But that's not my cat. That cat is black, whereas my cat is white as the snow we walk on. It's what makes her so hard to find." Poor Ethan looked terribly disappointed. "Don't worry, Ethan," said Maisie as she put her arm around him. "We've only just started looking. Let's try again." And so they trudged back through the snow to the backyard, with Maisie attempting to step on top of the footprints she'd made as they went. She could see other footprints in the snow, tiny trails left by hopping birds or the feet of small mammals. There weren't many of these tracks, but they were there, and it gave Maisie an idea. She began to look for cat footprints. All around the backyard she searched, carefully scanning the snow for signs of a paw print. And it wasn't until she'd been around the entire backyard that she saw it. A paw print beside the garden chairs, and then another beside a small hole where something had wriggled underneath a chair. The chairs themselves still had their cushions on them, and on top of these were mounds of snow, so they didn't look like chairs at all anymore. Maisie bent down for a better look and peered carefully into the hole. It was very dark in there. "Have you found something, Maisie?" asked the Snow Queen. Maisie simply pointed, and the Snow Queen nodded that she understood. The Queen slowly lifted her hand upwards, and as she did so, the snow on the chair lifted too, breaking up into tiny snowflakes that shimmered in the air. Then, slowly and carefully, so not to frighten the creature underneath, Maisie and Ethan lifted the chair aside. What was underneath took their breath away. It was indeed the Snow Cat, just as white as the Snow Queen had described. But there was more. 5 tiny white kittens were huddled against their mother. "So that's what you've been up to," said the Snow Queen. "You just wanted somewhere quiet to have your babies." "They're so sweet," said Maisie, squeezing Ethan's hand. "But they can't stay here," said the Snow Queen sadly. "It shouldn't be snowing in Sydney. I'll have to take them all home with me to my castle and make all the snow disappear." "Oh," said Ethan sadly, "can't we have snow just for a little bit longer?" The Snow Queen thought about this for a moment. "Oh, very well. You have both been very kind and helpful. What day is today?" "Saturday," said Maisie. "Splendid. Then the Snow Cat can remain until midnight on Sunday. How's that?" asked the Queen. "We've got a whole weekend to play in the snow," cheered Maisie. "Oh, what amazing news!" And so the Snow Queen gathered up her cat and her kittens and said her goodbyes, with both Maisie and Ethan waving her on her way. For the rest of the weekend, the whole of Sydney played in the snow, and by Monday morning, it was all gone. And once more, all of Australia baked under the hot sun. Nobody could explain why they had 2 days of spectacular snow. Nobody, that is, except Maisie and Ethan. And they weren't telling. The end.
So that you don't miss a single episode, just click that subscribe button.